What would you do if life took 27 years from you? 27 years, nearly 10.000 days, imprisoned in a tiny cell, stripped of your human rights, simply because of the color of your skin and your thirst for justice. Would you choose hatred, or forgiveness, revenge, or reconciliation? In human history, there was a man who faced that very question, and his answer changed the destiny of an entire nation, becoming a beacon of light for millions around the world. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Still Mind channel. The man we just spoke of is none other than Nelson Mandela, the first black president of South Africa. The man who transformed the darkness of apartheid into the light of freedom for his entire nation. Mandela was not just a great politician. He was a living symbol of courage, of indomitable faith, and of a heart that knew no hatred. The words he spoke, the philosophies he lived by, are not just for the people of South Africa, but a guiding compass for any of us who have ever faced hardship, injustice, and despair. Today, let's embark on a special journey together, to explore 10 of Nelson Mandela's immortal philosophical quotes. We won't just listen, we will feel. Together, why the man who was once imprisoned became an eternal symbol of freedom and hope. Quote number 1. The power of knowledge. The first quote, and perhaps one of his most famous, education is the most powerful weapon. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But let's place it in the context of apartheid-era South Africa. Back then, the white government deliberately created an unequal education system to suppress the development of people of color, turning them into a subservient labor class. They understood that to take away knowledge is to take away power. Mandela realized the opposite. Even in the darkest years in Robben Island prison, he and his fellow political prisoners turned the place into a university. They secretly taught each other to read and write, debating history, politics, and economics. They understood that while their bodies were imprisoned, their minds had to be free. Knowledge is not just about words on a page, it is about awareness. Awareness of human rights, of injustice, and of a better future. It is a weapon, not for destruction, but for construction. It breaks the shackles of ignorance and prejudice, opening a path out of the darkness for an entire nation. And what is the lesson for us? In the modern world, we may not face physical chains, but we still face invisible prisons, self-doubt, prejudice, or limitations in our thinking. Education, the act of continuous learning, is the key to breaking down those prisons and changing our own world. Quote number 2. The mindset of a winner. I never lose. I either win or learn. This is a powerful declaration of mindset. For Mandela, the concept of failure didn't exist. There was only winning, or a lesson learned. Think about his life. How many times did he lose? He lost in protests that were suppressed. He lost when he was sentenced to life in prison. He lost when he was separated from his family for 27 years. On the surface, it was a series of devastating defeats. But with this mindset, 27 years in prison was not a failure, but the world's longest course. He learned about patience. He learned to understand his enemy by studying their language and culture. He learned to transform anger into steely discipline. Those nearly 3 decades forged him from a fiery activist into a wise leader, ready to heal a nation on the brink of civil war. In our own lives, we often fear the word failure. We're afraid of failing an exam, losing a job, or a relationship breaking down. But what if we looked at it through Mandela's lens? Every stumble isn't an endpoint, but a chance to learn something about ourselves, about the world. Failure is just a classroom, and every lesson is invaluable. Quotes 3 and 9. The nature of courage. I'd like to combine the third and ninth quotes, as together they perfectly define the nature of courage according to Mandela's philosophy. First, courage is not the absence of fear. Mandela admitted that he, too, felt fear. Who wouldn't be afraid when facing a death sentence? Who wouldn't be afraid living in a hostile environment where your life could be taken at any moment? Fear is a very human reaction. But what makes a person courageous is not the absence of feeling danger, but the ability to act in spite of that fear. The brave man is the one who decides to step forward even while his heart is trembling. Second, courage is linked to resilience. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. The struggle of Mandela and his comrades was an endless series of stumbles. Protests were quashed, leaders were arrested, hopes were extinguished. But what makes them immortal is not that they never failed, but that they never gave up. Every time they were knocked down, they found a way to get back up, stronger and wiser. Therefore, courage is not a supernatural quality. It is a choice, the choice to confront fear, and the choice to stand up after falling. That is something we can all do. Quotes 4 and 8. The art of forgiveness. If there is one great legacy that Mandela left for humanity, it is the philosophy of reconciliation. These two quotes are the core of that legacy. Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. It's an image that couldn't be more accurate. When we harbor resentment, the first person to be corroded by that poison is our own soul. It burns away our peace, exhausts our minds, and prevents us from moving forward. Mandela had every reason to hate. He was robbed of his youth, his family, his freedom, but he understood that if he walked out of prison with hatred in his heart, he would still be a prisoner, only in a larger prison. And so, he chose a much more difficult path, to make friends of his enemies. He did not seek to punish those who had imprisoned him. Instead, he invited them to his inauguration. He didn't erase the symbols of the old regime but sought to integrate them into a new South Africa, a rainbow nation. He understood that a society cannot be built on a foundation of revenge. It can only be built with understanding, dialogue, and forgiveness. This is a profound lesson for all of us in our relationships. Sometimes, letting go of resentment isn't a gift to the other person, but a gift to ourselves. It is how we set ourselves free. Quote number 6. The definition of true freedom. When we think of freedom, we often think of being able to do whatever we want. But for Mandela, that definition was not enough. He said, to be free is not merely to cast off one's own chains. This is the first layer, personal liberation, but it is to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. This is the deeper meaning. He argued that the oppressor is not truly free either. They are a prisoner of hatred, of prejudice, of fear. A person is only truly free when they no longer wish to take away the freedom of another. True freedom is not selfish. It is not about your right to swing your arms without caring if you hit someone in the face. True freedom comes with responsibility and empathy. It's about building a society where everyone's freedom is protected and respected. This is a grand vision of a true democracy, where justice is not the privilege of any single group. Quotes 7 and 5. The meaning of service. These two quotes paint a portrait of a servant leader and a meaningful life. Mandela redefined the concept of power. For him, power was not a privilege to be enjoyed, but a responsibility to serve. He proved this through his actions. After becoming president, he served only a single term and then voluntarily stepped down, setting a precedent for a young democracy. He could have held power for life, but he chose to put the nation's interests first. He was a servant of the people, just as he said. And that leads us to the 5th quote, about a life of contribution. There can be no greater gift than that of giving one's time and energy to helping others without expecting anything in return. Mandela's life was a living testament to this. From a young lawyer fighting for the poor, to a tireless activist, a steadfast prisoner, and a reconciling president, his entire life was an epic of sacrifice for others. We may not be national leaders, but each of us can be a leader in our community, in our family, and the meaning of life, as Mandela taught, is often found not in what we get, but in what we give. Quote number 10. The ultimate weapon. And finally, we come to Nelson Mandela's ultimate weapon. It wasn't knowledge, It wasn't courage, but hope. Imagine, you are in prison, with no idea when you will be free. Every day is identical, with nothing but four walls and harshness. What kept a man from breaking for 27 years? It was hope. The hope for a free tomorrow. The hope for a South Africa without racial discrimination. The hope that his sacrifice would not be in vain. Hope is not blind optimism. It is the belief that the future can be better, and that one has a responsibility to help create it. When everything seems to be falling apart, when darkness surrounds you, hope is the small but never extinguished candle. As long as you hold on to hope, you are never truly defeated. That is the most precious lesson that prisoner number 466/64 taught the world. So, we have just walked through 10 of Nelson Mandela's immortal teachings. 10 pieces that form a great spiritual portrait. His legacy lies not only in ending a brutal regime, but also in proving that even in the darkest of circumstances, humanity can still choose light, choose love, and choose reconciliation. Our journey today comes to an end here. Of these 10 quotes, which one resonated with you the most? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Our dialogue will make these philosophies even more alive. If you found this video meaningful, please give it a like, subscribe to the Still Mind channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next episodes. In our next video, we will travel back in time to ancient Greece to meet Socrates, the great sage who once said something that changed all of Western philosophy: know thyself. Have you ever truly known yourself? Let's explore that in our next journey. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, and see you next time.